KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.
On April the 27th, which is today, I will be the speaker at the College of Complexes at the Mecca Restaurant on Live Oak in East Dallas. I think it's a Live Oak in Skillman. Yes. That's what Bonnie says, right,
Yes,
Bonnie?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so at 6:30 tonight, I'll be speaking. It's going to be on May Day, because May Day is coming up, and we're going to have a big May Day this time, instead of ignoring it like we usually do. I'll also be speaking at the celebration of May Day at the SMU Hughes Trigg Student Center on Dyer Street. We'll find out some more about that in a minute. On May the 3rd, I'll be introducing some of the speakers at the tribute to Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson. The actual tribute will be delivered by Congressman Mark Vesey. If you haven't met those two wonderful people, then you ought to be there. It's at 2010 Postal Way. And you have to get tickets, though, and you can get them online at TexasRetiredAmericans.org. Communication Workers of America is trying to get us to celebrate April the 28th, and we will, Workers' Memorial Day. Records from the Federal Occupational Safety and Health Administration record say that the agency's last inspection of the West Fertilizer in West Texas occurred 28 years ago in 1985. The agency found 5 violations that were considered serious, including some improper handling of anhydrous ammonia. The company was fined $30.
Ooh.
28 years ago.
Well, they certainly learned their lesson, didn't they?
And it blew up and took out half the town. So, and Governor Rick Perry is embarrassed today because they're running cartoons about it everywhere, where Perry's going around saying, "Come to Texas, no regulations on business," you know, and it says,
look how great it is.
Yeah,
wow, boom.
And Texas business is growing, it says, but it's also blowing up. On May the 4th, the 13th Annual Peace Conference, A World of Women for World Peace, which will take place at the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, 2200 North Pearl Street in Dallas. This is Congresswoman Johnson's big contribution, A World of Women for World Peace. If you want to go, you're supposed to have already RSVP'd. So if you want to go, you better get in touch with Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson's office right away. We're going to have a kind of a breakthrough in Dallas, Texas this year. Now, I know that Pan-African Connection has had some events for May the 1st, but I believe this will be the first time it's ever been celebrated at SMU. And Glenn Johnson, the man responsible, is sitting in front of us here. Glenn, good morning.
Good morning.
How did it happen that you decided to celebrate International Workers' Day?
It was actually through an organization.
Workers' Defense Project?
Yes, a Workers' Defense Project. It's a local worker center in Dallas. And they decided they wanted to do some outreach at SMU and decided to have an event there for May 1st, International Workers' Day.
Now, didn't you tell me that one of the staffers there comes from somewhere else where they celebrate it all the time?
Yeah, one of the staffers there actually comes from Puerto Rico, and she actually knew about the holiday before me. I have been raised in Dallas all of my life, been in the U.S. all of my life, and I have never heard about International Workers' Day.
Yeah, most people have not. Most Americans don't know about it.
And
Glenn,
the schools
try to talk straight to the microphone. You can look at Clint. Don't look at me and Bonnie. Okay. Talk straight into the microphone. Clint's our producer, and Doc's back there doing everything else. Okay. If you look at knon.org. You can find us on video and find out what we look like, which is a great embarrassment, especially when somebody as handsome and young as Glenn Johnson comes in and provides contrast. And Bonnie's all spiffy looking too. So go to knon.org sometime, and you can actually see what we look like, embarrassing as that may be. So people in Puerto Rico know about International Workers' Day. People from Dallas generally don't.
Right. Don't. So this event is going to be kind of a discussion, introduction to people who don't know about International Workers' Day, basically explaining the implications of the holiday in our society today. So it's going to be a pretty interesting event. Dr. Jorg Rieger is going to be one of our speakers, along with Gene Lantz, and we're going to have some other representatives from local unions, including the UFCW, United Food and Commercial Workers, and also some representatives from All Walmart, a local campaign with the Walmart workers.
That's a good thing, because the last time I sent out a big blast over email, I called it "Look Back and Go Forward," and that really sounds like kind of a danger. I didn't mean to do that in traffic. I don't mean that's the way you should drive, but I mean when you're planning your events, it's good to know what's already happened. It's good to know the history of labor and how we got where we are and how to go forward and learn the mistakes that we made and the good things that we did, and try to refine our tactics. So you're going to have people like me looking backward at International Workers' Day from 1886, and people like the Walmart organizers who are looking forward and saying, here's what we're going to do next. That looks like a great combination to me. I'm very, very pleased and excited that you're doing this. I actually tried to do a May 1st event back in about 1985, and I was the only one that showed up. I had the sound system and everything, but it rained that morning.
Oh, wow.
And it was in a park, and there was no shelter, and I was just standing there in the rain by myself celebrating May the 1st. And I think Pan-African Connection usually has some celebration. I'm hoping somebody will call from there today and see whatever they're going to do.
And also to add, the SMU Embry Human Rights program is actually putting this on for us. So they're sponsoring it for us. So it's a very, very exciting opportunity.
And it's kind of unusual for SMU to take a step this way, isn't it?
It is. The Human Rights program is fairly new, but it is a step in the right direction, I would say.
Yeah. You think students will be interested?
I think so. There are a number of human rights students and also anthropology students that I'm mainly targeting, but also anybody who's just interested in the affairs going on in Dallas, Texas, and efforts to help people, humanitarian efforts, just any type of people who want to get involved can come and learn about the efforts that are here in Dallas.
Well, May the 1st, 1886, that's what we're celebrating. That was the day called by international progressive organizations to fight for the 8-hour day. Because looking back in history, when the Industrial Revolution occurred, most everybody came off the farm. Now on the farm, you work from Can't See to Can't See. That's a 12 or 14-hour day, and that's the way everybody worked in the factories too. They just thought that was the natural working day. But of course, on the farm, you put out a bale of hay for the cows, and then you go somewhere else and do something else. You might plow for a few hours, or for part of the year, but it's not just hitting it every minute the way it is in the factory, where you're just like putting lugs on tires, for example, in a car factory, and doing the same thing over and over again. A person can't really do that. 12 to 14 hours is shortening your lifespan. So people were fighting to get the number of hours down, and at that time, people thought that the 8-hour day was just a dream. They thought, you guys are talking about the 8-hour day. Well, you're just completely silly. Everybody works 12 or 14 hours a day, and the 8-hour day is just nonsense. And yet they won it, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
It took a long, long time to win it, but they did win it. And it started, for all practical purposes, with the International Workers' Day, May the 1st, 1886. Now, May the 1st was already kind of a holiday because everybody had always celebrated the coming of spring. That's when the children wear flowers in their hair, and they had the maypole and stuff like that. So it was already an acknowledged important day for workers. But they associated it with the 8-hour day in 1886, and the very center of that movement was in Chicago. And Chicago had the biggest demonstration. There were demonstrations everywhere. There were some in Texas, but the one in Chicago was the biggest. And that's what we want to celebrate, get together, and begin to acknowledge our history and begin to learn something.
Yeah, and also, like you said, they thought the 8-hour workday was something impossible for them to achieve.
Right.
And as far as implications of that today, we can say the same thing about the living wage.
Sure.
And other movements. So when people say that they're impossible to achieve, we have to look back in history to see how we can move forward.
And the 6-hour day is what we should be shooting for right now. A 30-hour week and a 6-hour day with no cut in pay. That's been the slogan of labor from the mid-30s until about 1975. That was in pretty much every Congress or every convention that every union had. 30 for 40, no cut in pay. That was our slogan. And they gave that up, along with a lot of other things, during the long prosperity that began at the end of World War II and lasted into the 70s.
Wow.
And during that period, labor gave up a whole lot of demands that I think they should have kept. And today, if we had 30 for 40, we wouldn't have any unemployment.
That's right.
Because we'd have places for more people to come to work. And that's about how many people we need to get employed, too. We need whatever percent that would be. That would be 20%, wouldn't it? No, 25%. That'd be 25% more people would be able to get good jobs. And that's about how many we need, because when you count the unemployed and the people that are forced to work part-time and the people that have given up looking and all that, it all comes out to a much larger number than the regular unemployment rate. So we need 30 for 40. And that would be a good fight for us to get into right now. And if you talk to Tom Berry out at the College of Complexes, that's his main topic. I think he thinks he just first one ever thought of it. But the truth is, it was our slogan for 20 or 30 years of the greatest years of American labor, from 1935 to 1947, and that was our heyday. That's when we got the 8-hour day, and when we got unemployment pay and Social Security and hazard pay and what do you call it when you get injured on the job?
Workers' compensation.
Yeah, workers' compensation. We won all those things during our great heyday. Now, Bonnie, you went to a convention at the CWA, Convention of the Communication Workers of America.
Yes, sir.
How was that?
It was great. It was very good. Lots of controversy. Folks, not everybody feels the same way across the country, and it's hard. It's really difficult to fight in a convention where you have a couple of districts that are not right to work states. Okay, the East Coast, they're not right to work. They're all closed shop.
So their locals are a lot more powerful than ours.
Exactly. And we fought really hard to get a telecom sector to help basically AT&T Verizon employees for the most part, but there's also smaller companies that would have benefited, smaller memberships that would have benefited. I don't know if the companies will benefit, but it's about us. It's not about the companies. We have to work together to make a stronger union, and we really wanted to get a telecom sector, but unfortunately, District 1, which is the East Coast, they didn't want it.
People don't realize how painfully democratic the labor movement is. It takes us
Painful.
It takes us forever to make a decision.
To make one
and
decision.
because everybody gets up and argues about it, and then we have to take a vote on just everything.
Yes.
If you want to call us, you make a comment, 972-647-1893. KNON loves it when you call. Communication Workers of America President Larry Cohen challenged convention delegates at your convention to build a robust movement for democracy and economic justice. And this is a quote from Larry Cohen. Some may say this is too big a reach for our members, but this executive board and so many of you are saying, if not now, when? If we don't build a much deeper movement now, when? If we don't fight for universal voter registration and against voter suppression now, when? If we don't demand that Democrats confirm a National Labor Relations Board with a Democratic majority that will make decisions that support us now, when? If we don't stand up for retiree health care, not just in our own union, but across the nation now, when? This is our time to take up this challenge,
Amen.
said Larry Cohen. A very progressive labor leader, wouldn't you say?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I wonder if he knows about May Day and May the 1st. Do you think there'd be any celebrations that Larry Cohen might participate in?
I would imagine he will participate in the May 1st International Workers' Day. I know tomorrow CWA is also promoting. Tomorrow is Workers' Memorial Day.
Correct.
And that means a lot here in Texas because we are the number one in the nation for construction deaths.
And this was brought to light by Glenn's organization, Workers'
That's
Defense
right.
Project.
That's
Workers'
right.
Defense Project is an organization who's constantly working on behalf of these workers. We've actually went down to Austin and did some lobbying for these people's causes, and also just to honor their deaths. You know, these people and their families need some type of closure and healing, and getting involved in these type of movements are ways to do that.
Yes.
We got a caller on line 3. Let's bring Jane on the line. Thanks for calling KNON.
Yeah,
Janet.
I just wanted to remind you about Rick Perry and what happened at West Texas. And that's the blood. Remember the blood, the pig, the pigs that were being slaughtered here. Wasn't it in Oak Cliff?
Yeah,
And
yes,
the
ma'am.
blood was coming, huh?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. That's correct.
And then the peanut plant, remember that here in Texas?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just wanted to remind your listeners about that, those two.
And so you think the deregulation in Texas is not a good thing then?
Say that again?
You're saying then that when Governor Perry talks about a little bit of how small the regulations on business are in Texas, that's really a very bad thing.
Yeah, and there's one other thing that the public doesn't know about, that it may have started with Bush when he was governor, and that's when he cut budgets on the inspectors to inspect the gas stations. When you pump your gas, that you're getting your amount, what you pay for. They have to do a regular checkup, check their pumps. They cut that. I mean, they have it like once every 3 years when they used to have it, I can't remember what he said, every month, or I believe. Now they have it once every 3 years.
So that's
So
why.
don't forget that.
So that's why when I fill up a tank and it runs over 11 gallons, and I keep I'm paying for over 11 gallons in the tank, and that tank don't hold but 10 and a half, So I know there's something wrong with the way that them gallons is being counted.
That's right.
And you're saying this happened back when Bush was governor?
I believe so. It may have. I'm not sure, but
you're right.
Bush. A lot happened with him.
Oh.
So they quit inspecting, and of course the most dramatic evidence of that today is all the dead people and wounded people in West Texas. Go ahead.
Don't forget. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm gonna. I can't stay on myself for long, but don't forget that Rick Perry is in charge of who he places on. I'm gonna say for elections. He has a director in charge. They're not going to accommodate everybody. They're just going to accommodate those that are going to vote for them. They're not going to put polling places over there in Lancaster, South Dallas, at homeless shelters nearby. Nowhere like that. No way.
You're right. You're absolutely right, Janet. We have to take a break. They already started the music. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Oh, he told me all right. Joe got the axe this morning. He's been down, size down.
So much pain, we don't know how to be but angry.
Statistics say 1.5 million teenagers experience dating abuse every year.
Only 33% report it.
Let's break the cycle.
Love is not abuse.
If you or someone you know is experiencing teen dating abuse, get help now.
For immediate, confidential assistance, call 866-331-9474 or log on to loveisrespect.org.
You can also text Love Is to 77054.
To learn more about what abuse is and the resources available to you, visit loveisnotabuse.com.
You don't have to be afraid.
Call 866-331-9474.
Store the number in your phone for future use.
866-331-9474.
Know how to get help for yourself or someone you know.
We now have fewer than 500 copies left. That's right, fewer than 500 copies left of the Knon Texas Blues Radio Volume 5 Blues CD. Texas Blues Radio features great blues from Tutu Jones, Blues Boy Bo, Buddy Whittington, Andrea Dawson, Kirkland James, Sonny Collie, Johnny Red and the Roosters, the Chris Watson Band, the Two Tones, Rough Cut Blues Band, Jeff Stone and Charlie Love, Dave Millsap, Sirloin and the Ass Kicking Machine, Michael J. and the Paul Bird Band, and JJ and the Detonators. Get your copy now at Forever Young Records in Grand Prairie, Record Town in Fort Worth, and in Dallas at Bill's Records. Destined to be a Dallas Blues collectible, a very limited amount of vinyl copies can be found at Forever Young Records, the sponsor of this great blues project. CD downloads are now only $11 at cdbaby.com. Whether you get it as a download, on vinyl, or on CD, all the proceeds benefit KNON. More information at knon.org.
This is William, your videographer for the KNON talk shows. You can watch Workers Beat by going to knon.org website. Click on schedules to the left side of your screen. Choose Workers Beat's page. Scroll to the bottom of the page, then choose your favorite show to watch or download. This show will be ready for viewing by lunchtime Tuesday. Have a great day.
Blue Monday. I hate Blue Monday, but I love Fast Domino. 972-647-1893 is the number. I'm sorry Janet got cut off there because she was telling us some really good stuff about regulation and deregulation in Texas and some of the tragedies and terrible things that have happened, and put the blame on Governor Rick Perry, which I think most people would agree with her on that. Yeah. Let's talk about some more about International Workers' Day, because we're going to have the event. Glenn Johnson, tell us again when the event is and how to get there and everything.
It's going to be Wednesday, May 1st, from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at SMU. It's going to be at the Hughes Trigg Student Center, which is on the north side of campus. If you all are familiar with maybe Fondren Library or the north side of campus's parking lots, you should be able to find ample parking for the event.
It's on Dyer Street, D-Y-E-R.
It's on Dyer.
And you can find a map of SMU very easily. Just Google Maps at SMU, and they have a map that will show where it is. It pretty much looks to me like it's kind of in the middle of the campus and just on the north side.
Yeah, kind of in the middle of the campus, but since it's going to be at 6:30, you shouldn't have any trouble finding parking at all. It's going to be in the student center, Atrium CD, which is upstairs.
Now we hope that Lucy Parsons is going to be there. Lucy Parsons, of course, the real Lucy Parsons died in 1943. But we have an actress here in Dallas that performs as Lucy Parsons. And the greatest thing about this is not the only town that has a Lucy Parsons. There's one in Chicago too, and you can get her on the internet if you just Google Lucy Parsons, and there's a bunch of YouTube versions. In fact, our version is on YouTube. But we have an actress here that will be Lucy Parsons, and it's very appropriate that Lucy Parsons appears alive and in the flesh today, because everybody would have forgotten about May 1st a long time ago if it hadn't been for Lucy Parsons. Her husband was one of the ones hanged, even though they didn't even try to prove that he had done anything wrong. They just hanged him anyway. But they hanged the leaders of the 8-hour day movement. And after her husband was hanged, she lived another 50-something years. She lived until 1943. And all that time, she made sure that people were not going to forget May the 1st of 1886, because she leafleted, she stood on street corners, she spoke, she traveled, she went to jail over and over again, and kept alive the story of what had happened on May the 1st in 1886. And that's the reason that anybody knows about it today in America, even though it's true that most people don't know. The powers that be do not want people to know about labor's successes. And this, of course, was the greatest of labor's successes, the 8-hour day. It sounded back in the previous centuries, it sounded like just a dream. But we finally got it. We got it in 1935, and thank goodness Lucy Parsons was still alive, and I hope people gave her credit for it, because she kept the story alive. She kept telling people about her husband and about the great fight that went on for the 8-hour day, and just never let people forget. And so it's very appropriate now that actresses portray Lucy Parsons in the flesh, come back to remind us once again of the importance of May 1st, International Workers' Day. Now, this caught on in the rest of the world.
Yeah, it's actually a national holiday in 80 other countries.
In 80 countries.
80 other countries.
Imagine that. I'll bet they all have universal health care too, don't they? Just saying.
Probably more of them, right? A lot more.
That's amazing.
But yeah, it's definitely has been suppressed in U.S. history because it has been related to socialism. So that's been the problem.
I interviewed a French woman the other day that works out at my plant. Let's see, what was her name? Everybody calls her Frenchie, so it's kind of hard to keep. Karima. Her name was Karima, and she talked about May the 1st to me. She said that in France on May the 1st, nobody works. It's absolutely, completely workers' holiday. Whereas here, we have Memorial Day and Labor Day and Veterans Day and stuff like that, and most people still work.
Yeah.
Most people don't get those holidays.
That's right.
And in fact, now people think it's sales, and instead of Labor Day being a time to take the day off, people think it's a day to buy sheets and shop. They have Labor Day
early
discounts.
in the morning.
Labor Day sale.
Yeah. But in May the 1st in France, according to my friend Karima, they don't work. Nobody lifts a finger on May the 1st in France, and that's not a little country.
No.
So Glenn Johnson just told us that 80 countries have this as a national holiday, and here in the United States, to our utter shame and degradation, we don't. We don't even know about it. And it comes on a Wednesday this year. You can be sure that there will be almost nobody will get May the 1st off. And we have to hold our celebration 6:30 in the evening, because that's when a few people, don't have to work. And we'll be at SMU then for that short celebration, a couple of hours. I was in Chicago one time, and this was in the 1980s, and they had a fair. With booths and everything.
Wow.
It was kind of like, it wasn't as big as State Fair of Texas or anything, but it was, it took up a city block, and people were doing, there were clowns and magicians, and different unions had booths and that sort of thing, and of course speakers. So it was a big celebration. And I wish we would have that here. And we will someday.
Someday we will.
We are studying apathy. The Job of Justice, my organization, has been studying why is it that people don't defend themselves? Why is it that so few people come out when we need to hit the streets and that sort of thing? So we've been studying that, and the indications are, the early indications are that people don't know how we got the things that we are losing today. They don't know how we got Social Security.
Right.
They don't know how we got Medicare or Medicaid or the 8-hour day or weekends, the things that we have come to take for granted and started to and enjoyed in the period since World War II.
Those entitlements.
Yeah, they call them. Yeah, they act like it's all welfare payments.
Exactly.
But the truth is we fought for those things and we won them, and we can fight for them to keep them.
Yes.
And we can fight to get better things. And it's not silly to talk about the 6-hour day. The 6-hour day is something we absolutely need and should have. We should have had it a long, long time ago because of productivity. In other words, a person works an hour today, they produce a lot more junk, a lot more stuff than they used to produce in an hour. That's a tremendous amount more. In fact, I can show you figures that show that since World War II, since they've been keeping figures on productivity, one person working 1 hour makes 4 times as much stuff as they did at the end of World War II. So that's a big jump. So if you're making 4 times as much stuff, how come you're still working the same number of hours?
How come I'm not making 4 times more money?
Or why aren't you making 4 times more money? So,
good point.
So this can be shown that the 6-hour day is long, long overdue, and we should be fighting for it.
And I've actually seen studies on this as well about how shorter work days would affect workers, Americans in general, I guess the greatest effects that they talk about is a home life. Home life would greatly improve.
A lot less crime.
Yep.
A lot less crime. A lot better child care services. Parents can come home and watch their own kids. The 6-hour workday would greatly benefit Americans, and it also would bring back a sense of community, I believe, as well. So,
and also it would make people more inventive. The fact is that people aren't very inventive when they're working themselves to death. But when they have some leisure time, it is in leisure time that great inventions and creations are made. And I'm not just talking about art and books and songs and stuff. I'm talking about labor-saving devices, things that make life even better. Better kinds of vacuum cleaners and better kinds of dishwashers and whatever else we need, if people had time to do it. I mean, there's all kinds of people walking around with great ideas in their head right now that just have never had time to fool with it because they've always had to hump to make a living. And it's not getting better, it's getting worse.
That's right.
It's getting worse under today's conditions when so many people are working 2 or 3 part-time jobs or scrambling looking for work all the time. Instead of being able to just be productive. So this is a great idea.
It is.
And having a May 1st celebration is a part of it, and we look forward to having people. Now, Glenn, you have to tell the time and place quite often because we don't always have the same listeners. People come and go. Okay,
it's going to be at SMU Hughes Trigg Center, which is on the north end of campus, kind of in the north end of the middle, Atrium CD.
Hughes Trigg is the student center, right?
Yep, Hughes Trigg Student Center.
Okay.
And is there an address for that building?
It's on Dyer. It's 3400 something Dyer.
Okay.
I looked it up on the SMU map, and Dyer is D-Y-E-R. But you probably going to have a map to get in there because most of us don't know too much about SMU. As they say, it's inside the hedge. And people that are inside the hedge, they know everything that's going on inside the hedge, and they don't know anything about outside the hedge. But the rest of us live outside the hedge, and we don't know anything about what's going on within the campus. So don't be afraid. Go and do it.
The actual address is 3140 Dyer Street.
3140 Dyer.
3140 Dyer Street. That's the actual address.
3140 Dyer. I'm writing it down.
Hughes Trigg Student Center.
Hughes Trigg. Hughes Trigg must have been somebody that donated the building or something. Right?
Yeah, SMU has a lot of A lot of rich donors that buildings are named after.
Tell us what you do at SMU.
I am actually a seminary student. This is my second year at Perkins School of Theology. I am going after a Master's of Divinity. Interested in afterwards doing worker-related issues, justice type of issues, and also maybe serving a church.
Are you Methodist?
No, I'm not Methodist at the time. I would call myself non-denominational, but I grew up Baptist.
I grew up a Baptist too. They're the best singers.
Yeah, definitely the best music. And I just love Baptists because they have a sense of freedom about them that the Methodists don't have so much, but they do have a nice structure.
Methodists have a sense of propriety. They know how to act in public.
Yeah,
and the Baptists clearly don't. But.
Maybe that's why I can't be a Methodist. Grew up Baptist, I don't know.
Well, speaking of singing, there's a great tradition of singing in the labor movement too. And this is going to be pushed on May the 18th out at my Union Hall, 2218 East Main in Grand Prairie. May the 18th from noon to 4:30 or something like that. I think it's noon to 4:30.
I think so, yeah.
There will be the first annual Labor Fest, sponsored by the Dallas AFL-CIO. Now, there were a couple of song fests last year that I organized. That was Job of Justice doing that. But now we're in the big time. The AFL-CIO has taken it over and is doing a labor festival. Will include culture and knowledge and understanding. They're going to bring the big guns in, not only in labor songs, but also in labor knowledge and understanding. That'll be May the 18th, and it shows that I think labor is finding itself again.
I hope so.
After having lost itself from 1947 to 1975, there was a long period there when things were too easy. Labor got 3% raises every year, and every union did just fine as long as they kept their mouth shut, and so they did. And productivity went up, but also wages went up. And so people were pretty happy in the labor movement there for a long time.
And now we're struggling to survive.
Well, then came Reagan.
Yes, and then came the big R.
When President Reagan was elected, it wasn't really exactly his doing, but the fact is that by that time, the situation had changed in America. We then had great international competition going on. The squeeze was on for American industry
and business.
And so they began to tighten the screws on the workers, and they hired Reagan as a good spokesperson for that. So it was with the election of President Reagan that things changed in the United States. And I don't think that the labor movement really caught on to it until 1995. There were about 15 or 16 years there when labor was kind of going this way and that. But now I think labor's back on track, and we're studying our own history, learning what we did right in the past and learning what we did wrong. And I think May Day is an important part of that. And I sincerely hope that after this year, that we'll have a regular May the 1st.
Continual celebration,
Annual celebration.
What happened in 1995?
In 1995, the AFL-CIO was overthrown. For the first time in its entire history, the leadership of the AFL-CIO did not pick its own successors.
Wow.
There was an overthrow. And
I think it might be time for that kind of thing again.
Well, when John Sweeney was elected president, Richard Trumka and Linda Chavez Thompson were elected vice presidents. They were not the pick of the old leadership.
Okay.
The old leadership had picked some other people, and so they had an actual contest, and the Sweeney forces won, and they represented the ideas mostly from the old CIO. The CIO, Congress of Industrial Organizations, was rampant from 1935 to 1947, and they changed the face of American labor. The AFL had been the more conservative part of it, and then when they joined together in 1955, I think it was, then the situation changed real radically, and most of the great progressive social causes kind of went by the wayside during that period from 47 on up to 75 or so.
Okay.
And but in 95 they started to really get back on track. They overthrew the AFL-CIO.
Changed their bearings, right?
Yeah, and some amazing things happened. Like, for example, Job with Justice, which was my organization, was started in 1987 by the more progressive unions, but it was not adopted by the AFL-CIO. In fact, the AFL-CIO did not like us. And some of the unions did. Communication workers certainly did, Bonnie. And
okay, good.
And the auto workers did. There were 5 unions that did it. And it's largely credited with Larry Cohen. Today, when Job with Justice has a convention now, they mostly invite Larry Cohen,
really?
President of the CWA, and they mostly credit him with having started Job with Justice back in 1987.
Cool.
And here in Texas, it was Mike Gross, who's a communication workers organizer today.
Yes, he is.
That started Jobs with Justice. And in Dallas, of course, it was me and my wife Elaine. We started Job with Justice here in 1990, but we were not happily married to the AFL-CIO until after 1995 when they adopted us, and we became part of the labor movement. We'll be right back.
Tell you all a story that's close to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, AM Law Group presents a blues legend in a historic venue. This is Greg Smith here to tell you about Bobby Rush at the Sons of Herman Hall on Saturday, April the 27th. That's right, I'll be hosting a legend live and up close in this intimate venue. Get your tickets now and don't miss out and see a complete Bobby Rush show. Joining Bobby Rush will be Little Jimmy and his Feedback Band. Fort Worth party people will have a free Bobby Rush party bus leaving from the Silver Eagle bus station. More information is at knon.org. And if the Grammy-nominated Bobby Rush wasn't enough, we'll have a free dinner from Daddy Jack's Fort Worth and South Lake locations. Get your tickets now at knon.org. Bill's Records, Forever Young Records, and Comp Cleaners in Fort Worth. This is a KNON Blues benefit. Bobby Rush and Little Jimmy and his Feedback Band. April the 27th at the Sons of Herman Hall, 3414 Am Street in Dallas. Presented by AM Law Group and sponsored in part by Top Dollar Tax Service, Silver Eagle Bus Charter, and Daddy Jack's.
Recycle Revolution is a local recycling collection service and community drop-off center. They collect and accept all traditional recyclables including paper, plastic, aluminum, cardboard, and glass, as well as materials like TVs, computers, lamps, light bulbs, batteries, ballast, and styrofoam. They offer collection services to apartments, condos, and businesses. They also offer a community drop-off located at 1703 Chestnut Street in Dallas. For more information, 214-566-3025 or recyclerevolutiondallas.com.
Wake up in the morning.
We're back on the Workers Beat. If you'd like to comment or raise heck with Glenn Johnson, who's our guest from SMU, and he's putting on the International Workers' Day celebration on Wednesday, call us at 972-647-1893. KNON absolutely loves it when you call. So, Glenn, tell us again, where's the place? When are we meeting?
It's going to be at SMU. It's going to be Wednesday, May 1st from 6:30 to 8:30 at SMU Hughes Trigg Center, Student Center, Atrium CD. Hughes Trigg Student Center, Atrium CD, May 1st, this Wednesday from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm. And I'll be there. I'm one of the speakers. And, of course, we don't have a long history of celebrating May the 1st here in Dallas. They did in 1886, but they haven't since then, because there's been a concerted effort for people to stay ignorant. The bosses don't really want us to know about our successes and the great things that we have done. I have a quote on that somewhere. It says that ignorance is the chief mainstay of capitalism.
It is. And many companies actually work against unions and actually work against their employees knowing about unions. So this is by no accident, right here, that we don't know about International Workers' Day. This is actually a concerted effort by big corporations and companies.
They want to take credit for everything. They like to make the employees think that they gave us stuff. So we gave you the 8-hour day. Don't you remember? And
what benefits?
We gave you raises. We gave you benefits.
Oh, we gave you those health benefits.
Well, they didn't.
No, they did not.
They never gave us anything. We had to take it, and we still do.
Yes.
We still have to fight for it. We still have to take it. And part of the celebration on Wednesday night we won't just be celebrating the past. We'll also be looking forward into the future, because the organizers for Walmart are going to be there. And it's just my opinion, of course. Nobody else is telling me this, but it is my opinion that the Walmart organizing drive is the central organizing drive for the working class in America today, because so many companies are adopting the Walmart model. So if we can't organize Walmart, we're going to continue to see the Walmart model spread. Now, what is the Walmart model? It's low pay, it's no benefits, and it's not being able to get 40 hours.
And it's also every week, not even be able to get 40 hours, barely getting 20 hours, and they also change schedules up every week.
They keep you hungry, and they keep you undecided about everything.
Undecided about
everything. You can't make plans with your family,
right,
or make a doctor's appointment because you don't know your schedule from one week to the next.
And you're so desperate that when they say you can work, you have
to be there.
You're going to be there,
right.
and you're going to work. It's every time that they tell you that you can, but the rest of the time you just have to sit and wait.
Sit and wait, and you also can have a second job. So Walmart is also forcing people to get on food stamps and to get on welfare, because the average wage an employee makes is $8.18 an hour. That's barely over minimum wage, and nobody can survive off of that. Nobody can get a 1-bedroom apartment or even pay for their meals for the week with that salary. So
that is a true fact. So it's very important to organize Walmart.
That's right.
And to keep that Walmart model down, because that's what they want us all to be like. Before the coming of the labor movement, that is the way work was performed. You worked when the boss told you to, and you did exactly what the boss said all the time. And if the bosses wanted to put his brother-in-law in instead of you, well, you were just out of luck. So if we want something besides that, we're going to have to fight for it.
And also, Walmart is the largest corporation in the world.
Yep.
There are only 2 organizations that employ more people, and it's the U.S. military.
That's governments, yeah.
And the Chinese army. So,
it.
other than that, Walmart is the largest employer of people in the world, and they are setting the tone for how other employees are treating their employees. And to say this, Walmart is in 13 countries around the world.
This is the only one that's not organized.
This is the only one that is not unionized.
Right.
America is the only country that is not unionized Walmart, and we are the country that it was founded in.
Yeah.
It's just
not only the country, but it's right here. One of the Walmart family members lives in Fort Worth.
Yes, yes.
And she never contributes to the show. We keep asking.
We ask.
We ask all the time.
We just ask for pocket change.
Yeah.
We only ask for a few million, just whatever they happen to have in their pockets at the time.
The CEO of Walmart has plenty of pocket change. He
Yes.
makes $18,000 per hour.
Wow.
And in fact,
Just think if you made $18,000 per hour.
The six living members of the Walmart family have 40% of the wealth in America.
40% of the country's wealth are concentrated within 6 people.
That's right. So something needs to be done.
Something needs to be done. All those people who are on welfare, who work at Walmart, could afford to pay for their own meals and their own housing. If Walmart would, I don't want to say spread the wealth, but just actually reframe how they do their business and treat their employees.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Regulations is key, though, because nobody's
regulating anything.
Walmart's not going to do it on their own behalf. They're going to.
But the good news is that there is a fight going on, and people are doing pretty well. Bonnie, tell us about the leafleting at Metro PCS.
Wow. I was, it was supposed to be on the 12th. It was the Metro PCS Board of Directors shareholders meeting. It was supposed to be on April the 12th. And they T-Mobile came back to Metro PCS and sweetened the pot. And so they moved their shareholders meeting to the 24th. We at CWA want to make sure that T-Mobile keeps their promise to the FCC. They said they would not lay off or outsource any employees if this merger went through. Deutsche Telekom owns T-Mobile. They are very, very strong union in Germany. Very strong union. It's Vendi in Germany. And we are encouraging T-Mobile workers here in the stores to organize, because it's time. Metro PCS they outsource every single bit of their customer service.
But you guys picketed telling them don't do that.
That's right. We sent out leaflets.
You had a good turnout?
Yeah, I know that we had about 30 CWA members. Unfortunately, I was flying back from Pittsburgh along with a lot of other folks from CWA.
From your convention?
From my convention, our convention. But it was we had a good turnout. And even had some press coverage, from what I understand.
Here's what the CWA put out on CWA News. CWA activists leaflet at Metro PCS meeting. Activists engage with shareholders. Metro Plus PCS shareholders on Wednesday approved a deal to merge with T-Mobile USA, clearing the final hurdle of combining the companies, but it wasn't done quietly. CWA activists leafleted shareholders outside the special meeting in Richardson, Texas, urging them to hold Metro PCS to its promises to the Federal Communication Commission, not to lay off workers, keep jobs in the United States, and improve customer service. That made the national news. That was on CWA News. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Once again, Bonnie, you're making history.
I'll tell you, we actually organized and made sure that we had folks out there from Pittsburgh. And I have to really do a shout out to my chief stewards out there that turned out, brought people. Thank you so much for y'all's support. We really do appreciate it, because we were kind of stuck like Chuck. We were in Pittsburgh, and we had to get people out there. And it worked.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
You pulled it off.
Thank you.
A whole bunch of stuff happened on Wednesday. Wednesday was a heck of a day.
Busy, man.
Good thing you started at 6:30 in the morning.
I know.
Because there was a bunch of other stuff happening. CWA Chief of Staff Ron Collins told the CWA convention delegates, quote, "In the next 5 to 10 years, almost half of all current union members, approximately 5 to 7 million workers, will retire. Youth unionization rates are 2.5 times lower than those of workers aged 40 to 65. This is why organizing young workers and developing young leaders is critical for the future of the communication workers of America." Well, it's critical for the whole labor movement. In a way, we are caught in our own trap.
Yes, we are.
It's because of seniority that there are so few young workers with union jobs today, because seniority is like the highest commandment for the labor movement. In other words, we try to use seniority to determine who gets the best jobs and who gets the best pay and stuff like that, because it's the only way to keep the boss from using favoritism.
That's right.
Because if you just leave it open, then the boss will promote his relatives and his daughter-in-law, and stuff like that right over your head. And so the union movement fights for seniority. But then, in a way, it's our own trap, because what's happened is that the union movement has gotten older and older.
And younger people.
As layoffs have gotten worse and worse, and cutbacks and automation and everything.
Smaller.
So the younger people have had a hard time finding a place in the union movement. And even at that, the contracts often will penalize the new hires.
New hires,
because they didn't have a vote. People that are about to get hired don't get a vote in the Democratic Union. It's only the people that are already there. So the people that are already there will take cuts for the people that are not there yet. And that's what's been going on for a long time now, so that we have union members working for $10 an hour in my plant, right alongside somebody doing the exact same job making $35, because they've been there and they've been enforcing seniority all this time. So the labor movement's gotten older, and it's kind of fallen into its own trap because we push seniority so hard.
Right. And CWA is addressing that. We have a group called CWA Next Generation. You have to be 36 years old or younger to be a part of Next Gen. They had a booth set up at the convention. We have some folks here locally that ran that booth. And we are really, we had a flash mob. They had a photo booth. I mean, it was really good. And it was so important to get these older folks to understand. And no offense to the guys that have been around 30 and 40 years, but y'all, we have to work with these young folks because they're our future. They're the ones that are going to keep working, so we still have that retirement. So we have to bring them along and educate them to know where we were. They have to know where we came from so you know where we're going. You got to know that the company did not freely give you those benefits. They did not freely give you that raise. They certainly did not match your 401k 80 cents on the dollar.
But the good news is that you are doing that.
Yes.
The good news is that unions are aware of this problem and are working to overcome it, and it's going to work. We've overcome a lot worse things.
Yes, we have.
We've had.
Yes, we have.
shall overcome.
That's right. We shall overcome.
Well, the labor movement has been traduced and pounded on and beat up and hanged. And everything else, and we've always come through, and we continue to come through. So this is a good news program.
It is. We're not going to have the gloom and doom today.
No, we're not.
Okay,
not
excellent.
Not as much.
Okay, good. I'm so glad.
And part of the good news is that International Workers' Day will be celebrated in Dallas this year.
Yep, and it's going to be at SMU Wednesday, May 1st from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at Hughes Trigg Student Center, Atrium CD. So come.
And that address is
3140 Dyer Street, Dallas,
now that's
Texas.
within the campus.
Yeah.
You have to get on the campus first before you can even find Dyer Street. And it's not right on Mockingbird Lane. You have to drive into the campus.
But put the address in your GPS, and it will take you there. Don't freak out, because you're going to be kind of driving through campus, but it will take you there.
And there's parking around there, Glenn?
Yes, there's parking. There's actually the student center is very, very close to the library, so there's a big parking lot right behind the library, very, very close. If you get on campus and don't know where you're going, there's plenty of students walking around. Just roll down your window and ask one.
Where's the student center?
Where's the student center?
Where's the student center?
Say, where's the student center? And they will direct you right there.
That's right.
And maybe they'll be going over there themselves.
Yes.
Maybe so. I'm very pleased to hear about the Human Rights Program at SMU. I think it's a great comparison, or to kind of show that we are not all Bushites. The Bush Library, I loved it. Last Sunday's newspaper had a headline in it about the Bush Library, and I wasn't here, so I was just kind of going through the newspaper to see what was happening while I was gone. And the headline says, Bush Center's design falls short of inspiring. Kind of like his political career. But that's like just me saying that. Yeah, right? I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, also the Embry Human Rights Department allows a lot of these undergraduate students to get involved in campaigns of local organizations like unions. As far as people on campus, SMU's campus are probably the most knowing students that we have about these type of movements and these type of issues.
Do you think students are going to catch on? Do you think students are likely to start doing something about these things, Glenn?
I think that exposure is always most important. First of all, we are dealing with a new generation that is, I would say, in a sense, apathetic towards
everything,
politics, society in general. Yeah, sorry about that.
That's not their fault.
No, it's not.
This is what the bosses wanted them to do,
That's
and
right.
the bosses have an awful lot of influence. They get their way most of the time. Let's face it, they've got all the money, and they've got the jobs, so they get their way, and they have had their way with the current generation of young people who from our point of view, we think of them as having lost their way, but actually they're on the boss's way.
Yeah, because lately how things are phrased, with rhetoric and everything, American rhetoric, it's always about business, about profit, business, jobs. That's what people are talking about, and they're really not talking about the welfare of our nation, which is very sick in every way. You're talking about the massacre at the school, So just a lot of sicknesses need to be healed, and we need to take care of each other.
So thank you, Glenn Johnson, for talking about May the 1st. That will be at 6:30 at the Hughes Trigg Student Center at SMU, 3140 Dyer Street. We look forward to meeting you there, and thanks so much for listening today.
Good morning. It's Bonnie Mathias, and this is not Get Off My Lawn. We're going to stretch the Workers' Beat for another hour. Jim had an emergency this morning. I want to thank Glenn for coming in this morning. That was awesome. I'm excited about this program on May the 1st. That's going to be awesome. All right, 972-647-1893. That is the number here in the studio. Call me. Tell me what you want to talk about. I was in Pittsburgh last weekend, which was very interesting. It's a very clean city, believe it or not, a little smoggy, but nice folks, real nice folks, beautiful convention center, right on the river. It was very, very cool. I found an article in the Wall Street Journal on Monday, pet projects sprinkled in immigration bill. They talk about we're cutting the pork, we're not putting any pork in there. This is an immigration bill with our friend Mark Rubio, added stuff for the cruise lines. Now that's important, right? Cruise lines, they've been having a little bit of a rough time here lately. Lots of ships being stuck out in the ocean and folks getting sick, and so I guess that's okay. Well, there is going to be 20,000 additional visas for meat cutters and trimmers. So, okay, we got all kinds of unemployed folks, and we're going to extend visas for folks that are meat cutters and trimmers. But, there's a lot of pork in all this stuff.
Is that how they're literally cutting the pork?
Oh, good one. Good one. Good one. I like that. Good. You're on top of it, Clint. You must have had your coffee this morning. 972-647-1893. Right? Literally trimming the pork by adding additional visas. Yeah, that's a great idea. The Department of Agriculture's in on this. Oh, Lord. UFCW is not pleased about the visas to bring in more foreign workers because, of course, there is no labor shortage in the industry. But why do they keep doing it? Because they can. Because they can. Okay? That's why they keep doing this stuff, because they can. And you know why they can? Because we keep electing the idiots that go to Washington and introduce stuff like this when we're in trouble. Okay? 972-647-1893 if you have another opinion, or if you agree. Agree or disagree, it's all about talking. This is about the voice of the people. It's what KNON has been for many, many years, and it will always continue to be. Of course, we have great music during the week, too. I got the calendar. You guys sent me out the calendar. I was like, wow. Yeah, really, I did. I got a calendar and a bumper sticker.
Oh, the schedule.
Yeah, the schedule. That's it. Sorry, it's a schedule, not a calendar. He's going, calendar? We don't have a calendar. What are you talking about? The schedule. Sorry. We have great programs, though. Oh, here's some more pork in that bill for ski resorts in Colorado. There you go. Now, that has a lot to do with immigration, doesn't it? That's where people want to go who come up from the south. Colorado, where it's cold as hell. Oh, man. But it'll make it easier for them to hire foreign ski instructors. So there you go. There you go. There's where immigration comes in. Y'all, really, you should look this up. Pet project sprinkled in immigration bill. That's in the Monday's Wall Street Journal. I had to cut it out. Lindsey Graham's in here, Senator Graham appreciates the credit, but he'd like to share it with his other 7 colleagues. That's because he doesn't want to take the entire blame. Lindsey Graham, there's another piece of work. Man, we've got Ted Cruz. Aren't we lucky? We have Ted Cruz, who is now leading John Cornyn around by the nose, which I find quite interesting. And what do we do in Dallas? We name the convention center for Kay Bailey Hutchison. Isn't that special? I guess she did a lot of stuff for the area. She did. She worked hard at it. I'm glad she's retired, but I'm really, really sad that we now have Ted Cruz. That's just sad. Sad. There is a incredible bill in Pennsylvania. It's an animal abuse bill, and it's in the hands of their Senate. So that's one of my pet projects. Boy, now that's funny. Pet projects and animal abuse all in the same sentence. I still can't believe the stuff that we get away with. I have Robert on line 3. Good morning, Robert.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Oh, well, I'm doing well.
Good.
And, I just wanted to say it's the first time I've called into y'all's show, and it's a great show. I enjoy it, okay? Just a little shout out to the gentleman in Detroit, because my folk, my family all came from there, and they all worked for Ford Motor Company and GM and places like that, and we're in the locals and all that kind of deal. So
excellent.
That's where my roots go, and I ran to the south as fast as I could because it's a little chilly up there. I get tired of it real fast. But anywho, I heard you talking about the meat cutters and that they bring in and from other places when, well, you're right, we have plenty of people who do that around here. And, the other end of that is there's all kinds of IT and computer professionals, they're wanting to bring in from places overseas, and it's great that those guys need a job and all, but you know what, we got a backlog of those folks around here that could use those jobs. So I think we need to stick to the plan, the original plan about let's use our homegrown talent first and then go out and try and find these other guys if we can't find what we need here. But waiting and not looking doesn't do anyone any good.
Right.
It's like, it's kind of like having all these, reams of people that are applying for jobs, but, you're not quite qualified. Well, if you'll train them, they will be, and take what they already have and build on it, then they would be.
Yeah, Mr. Rubio, Mark Rubio down there in Florida, he wants to even, he put an opportunity in this particular bill for foreigners to come to the United States for 90 days to work on relief operations after a state or federal disaster. Now, wasn't that nice of him?
That's just peachy keen.
I know, isn't that sweet?
When they don't know where they're going and they don't know how to get there, and we have to transport them, and we have to pay for their food, and we have to pay for everything else.
Right.
Somebody down the street who's got all that stuff.
There you go.
Homegrown, here to be.
Kind of like
get the job to do it.
Kind of like hiring a ski instructor that speaks Portuguese.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a safety
you want to
issue
be yelled at in a foreign language as you fall down the slopes and slap into trees. I mean, come on, don't you?
There's a safety issue here.
Those trees, they speak Portuguese. They do.
Really?
Oh, yeah, the one that jumped out in front of Sonny Bono spoke Portuguese. I'm sure it did.
Maybe that's why I missed it. Oh, sorry.
Oh, look out. You see, he couldn't speak Portuguese,
that's
so he got hit by a tree. That's
oh,
how
my
it goes.
gosh. Oh, Robert, thank you so much for
You're
calling.
welcome.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, too.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
All right, I think we've milked that for all it's worth.
I will say, Bonnie, I've done a lot of skiing,
Yeah?
and most of the time when I encounter the instructors, they are foreign.
Isn't that bizarre?
Most of them are, like, Australian.
Well, Austrian.
No,
Australian?
Yeah. They ski down there.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess I need to have another geography lesson. I was not aware. I'll look that up, Clint. I appreciate that.
No problem.
They're really, wow. I thought you were going to say they're Austrian or, No, they're Australian. Okay. Oh, that's very interesting. Interesting. Well, all right, we're going to go on to a different topic. 972-647-1893. You know, I sit on the Dallas Animal Shelter Advisory Commission, have for several years now. I've missed the last couple of meetings, so I really can't speak on anything recent. But I did pick up Monday. Boy, Monday was a good news day. The Pittsburgh Tribune Review. They have an animal abuse bill in working in their Congress, and it's pretty cool. It is meant to defray costs that shelters incur to care for abused animals. This would address concerns. They want to make sure that dog breeders who raise animals and get accused of abuse are given due process. Okay, well, that's innocent until proven guilty last time I looked, but I don't know. Maybe it's different in Pennsylvania. It would hold that if a person is accused of abuse, is acquitted, he or she would get back any money they had paid for shelter care. The cap on costs is $15 a day, though it may be lowered to $10 per day. And abusers would also be responsible for reasonable veterinary fees. Okay? So if you get caught abusing your animal, you're going to have to pay for help or pay for the vet. It's definitely a step in the right direction. I don't know. I guess it's important. I mean, we have some serious animal abuse cases here, as everybody knows. The 4 guys, I don't know when they're going back on trial. The 3 guys, I guess, that burned the puppy over in Pleasant Grove. Justice, that's what the puppy was named. Puppy passed, thankfully for it. Most of these people that abuse animals don't have any money. So, really, court judgments in cases involving animal abuse can take a long time. One case involving dogs and horses wasn't adjudicated for 7 months. Well, in the meantime, those animals have to be taken care of. So, of course, the shelter is the one incurring the costs. And if the people who had the animals didn't take care of them because they had any money, they didn't have any money, I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work for them to pay for the cost. It's kind of like giving the homeless guy on the corner a ticket for panhandling. Seriously. How's he going to pay it? That's why he's there. He has no money. Of course, some of those guys make more than I do. So, 972-647-1893. That's the number here in the studio. Give me a call. Let me know what's on your mind. I hope everything's all right with Jim. Jim Schutz. Hope he'll be back next week. Sorry I missed you guys last week. I hope it was exciting. It always is. Gene's always got a great show. Always. Okay, animal abuse is a bad thing all the way around. If Pennsylvania can make these people pay, I think it's a great thing. Unfortunately, 90% of cases against animal abusers, they're upheld, but again, the abusers have no money. So even if they start paying part of it, it'll be helpful. The judge says the most important thing from our perspective is if the animal is safe. With us, they will be safe, which is true. Very true. Get them out of the situation. I did see a happy ending on what could have been a really bad thing here in Dallas. Guy had a dog with puppies, and she was starving. The puppies were starving. He didn't realize that he should have been feeding her more while she was nursing. And Dallas Animal Services went out there and did some education and allowed the guy to keep the dogs. And went back, checked on them on a regular basis. Everybody is doing well. Puppies are ready to be adopted. Mama's doing great. The guy's educated now on how to take care of the dog. That's a happy ending. And a lot of this is nothing but education. Dogs can't stay outside chained up to a tree with no water and no food and no shelter. It's no different, in my eyes, than chaining your kid to the tree and leaving it outside with no food, no water, and no shelter. You wouldn't do that to a child, right? Why would you do it to an animal? Makes no sense. But we have people out there that do. It's very sad. But a lot of it is education. Education. 972-647-1893. I want everybody to remember that tomorrow is Workers' Memorial Day. And it's really important. Memorial Day, we honor the fallen, the first responders and the military men and women who have died for their country. And my dad used to call it Decoration Day because we would take flowers to great-grandma's grave and do things like that. Workers' Memorial Day is a little different. This is the day that we take to remember the fallen that have died doing their jobs. And Texas is number one in the country for construction deaths. The Workers' Defense Fund, these guys are doing great work here in Dallas especially. They've really brought attention to a lot of things. Wage theft is another thing that the Workers' Defense Project is bringing to light. Wage theft has to do with folks working off the clock. Or maybe you go to work and you work all day for this guy and he refuses to pay you. Well, you've got no paperwork, you've got no contract. The Workers' Defense Project can help you. They sure can. They're great folks. I don't have a contact number. But I know they have a website. I think it's workersdefenseproject.org. There's Clint on the computer. His fingers are fast. I love it. That's great. It's kind of like having my own backup. But is it
workersdefense.org?
Workersdefense.org. Okay, that's it. Perfect. So if you've had an issue that you feel that you have been wronged by an employer, maybe you worked all day, maybe you worked off the clock, call these or look at the website and talk to these folks and see if they can help you. It's really, wage theft is alive and well. I mean, my God, there was a class action lawsuit against Walmart for wage theft, and they lost. They had to pay millions of people money that for time they'd worked off the clock. They had to pay them overtime because they had worked their 40 hours, and Walmart told them to punch out and keep working. Well, Walmart got busted. I'm so glad. We need to keep them on their toes. I hear Jim's music. I love that music. I really do. All right, we're going to be right back after this break.
Jim Hightower has moved to be a part of KNON's Speak Up Saturday. Jim Hightower's segments can now be heard at the start of each of KNON's great talk programming starting at 7 a.m. with Reverend Marion Barnett's show, Church Information and Open Forum, with the news and talk of South Dallas. Then at 9, the CWA presents Workers Beat with the news and talk of the unions hosted by Gene Lantz and Bonnie Mathias. At 10, the Dallas Observer presents Get Off My Lawn with Jim Schutz, bringing you the other side of Dallas news. Finishing up Speak Up Saturdays at 11 is Lambda Weekly with the news and talk of the LGBTQ community, hosted by David Taffet, Patty Fink, and Laurent Landis. Now starting at each of these shows is Jim Hightower's insightful segment at 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 a.m. each and every Saturday morning right here on the Voice of the People, KNON 89.3 FM.
We now have fewer than 500 copies left. That's right, fewer than 500 copies left of the KNON Texas Blues Radio Volume 5 Blues CD. Texas Blues Radio features great blues from Tutu Jones, Blues Boy Bo, Buddy Whittington, Andrea Dawson, Kirkland James, Sonny Colley, Johnny Red and the Roosters, the Chris Watson Band, the Two Tones, Rough Cut Blues Band, Jeff Stone and Charlie Love, Dave Millsap, Sirloin and the Ass Kicking Machine, Michael J. and the Paul Bird Band, and JJ and the Detonators. Get your copy now at Forever Young Records in Grand Prairie, Record Town in Fort Worth, and in Dallas at Bill's Records. Destined to be a Dallas Blues collectible, a very limited amount of vinyl copies can be found at Forever Young Records, the sponsor of this great blues project. CD downloads are now only $11 at cdbaby.com. Whether you get it as a download, on vinyl, or on CD, all the proceeds benefit KNON. More information at knon.org.
This is William, your videographer for the KNON talk shows. You can watch Get Off My Lawn by going to the knon.org website. Click on schedules to the left side of your screen, choose Get Off My Lawn's page. Scroll to the bottom of that page, then choose your favorite show to watch or download. This show will be ready for viewing by lunchtime Tuesday. Have a great day.
I really like Jim's music, man. It's very cool. I always listen to him when I leave here. I love Jim. I love his music. Well, Clint just kind of threw out a topic for this second segment. Let's talk about the FAA furloughs, which have been a disaster all across the country.
Well, yeah, because the government wants you to believe that it's 10%, but it's 25%.
Whoa!
Because most of the airport controllers are using, the management is having to use overtime just to make it. But so they lost all their overtime, plus 10%.
Oh. So you got air traffic controllers that are working overtime just to stay ahead of, because I assume that we need more air traffic controllers.
Yes, and it's very, very hard to get a job with
I can imagine. You got to be totally oh my God, really a multitasker and can't get flustered. I would be dead in the first day because it's really stressful.
And on top of that, they are now making those controllers work more actual time that they're there than they ever have before. And so generally what it was is you would work an hour, get a half an hour off, work an hour, get a half an hour. Now it's work 3 hours, get 15 minutes off.
Holy crap.
And
you're making me not want to fly.
And you will wear guys out very quickly.
So no wonder that government came back yesterday and went, okay, I'm sorry, we'll fix this part right here.
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
thank God.
I mean, it's a Band-Aid fix.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But it will restore at least getting rid of the furlough days. I don't think they're getting their overtime back yet.
So it's still screwed up.
It's still screwed up, and it's still it only applies to actual controllers. Anyone that's in management is still having to take their furlough days.
Well, not having management around is not a bad thing.
But all the management people have to be trained as controllers.
Sure, because if somebody doesn't show up or if somebody passes out,
they could step in
and take over. Sure.
But if they're not there, then they
can't. Wow, man. So, and if you don't fly, this may not matter to you, but I can tell you as someone who travels occasionally, we left Pittsburgh, myself and a couple of other officers, we left Pittsburgh early Wednesday morning. Our flight left at 7 a.m., and we were supposed to land at 9. We didn't get here till 9:10, okay? No biggie. Rough weather in between here and Pittsburgh. Some other folks of our delegation left at 1:30, and they were still at the airport at 5:30.
I've heard stories of people that have been sitting in their planes for hours.
Well, and that's a big no-no with the FAA. I mean, they can get fined, right?
Yeah, well, depending on the circumstances.
Right.
Yeah. But it's just because they literally do not have a controller that can sit there and tell that plane what runway to get onto to be able to get off and get up in the air. Because, we're not talking about the guys en route.
Right.
We're talking about the controllers right there at the airport that tell an airplane when it can land and when it can take off.
And we circled DFW probably 5 or 6 times coming in.
And that's because you're waiting for someone there
to say, hey, come on.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, and the bigger the airport, the more flights, the worse the problem's going to be.
Right. And so with an airport like DFW, which happens to see the most flights of any airport in the country,
right?
It's good. I mean, you lose 25% of your people, and and that just becomes multiplied. And then you wonder, okay, DFW Airport's a big driving part of the economy here.
Right.
What's that going to do for jobs for people if people don't want to fly anymore? And then it can kind of snowball.
Yeah. Yeah, and they said even though they passed that measure, the little Band-Aid fix yesterday, it's probably going to take 3 to 5 days for things to get relatively back to normal.
And technically it's not official yet because it hasn't been signed by Obama.
Oh, that's right.
What I think is hysterical about it is, if you read all the articles, is that Congress was trying to recess and all the senators
we can't leave.
well, and they were all literally trying to get on planes,
and they couldn't.
They couldn't.
It's like, wait a minute, let me go back to work for just a few minutes, okay? All right, everybody, it's like a huddle, you know? What do you think? You think we should go ahead and I can't get home if you don't pass this. Come on, man, come on.
The House vote yesterday was 361 to 41.
Who's the 41? The guys that live around there that don't have to take a plane?
I don't know. My understanding is that the Democratic members of the House did not want to pass this because they felt like that if they passed this, they would lose their public leverage to fix the whole thing.
Well, I get it. But 41, that's... There's more than 41 Democrats in there.
Yeah. I think most of them understood that this was a major issue.
Yeah, I'm thinking the 41 Democrats were, I don't know. Or I don't know who it was. It's probably
the
some
Senate
Tea
didn't even
Parties.
take a roll call.
Well, there you go. Because they wanted the hell out of there. It's like, Jesus, let us go. I mean, if you spend any time in Washington, D.C., let me tell you, you get a chance to get the hell out of there. You want to go.
And it's hard to get out of there, too. Because it's not just, I mean, you're really close to Newark and JFK and Reagan
and Dulles.
They're all right there.
BWI.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you got like 6 airports to choose from. But if you got no air traffic controllers at any of them, you got nowhere to go.
Yeah. I did see one interesting thing. This bill will keep the smaller airports from losing their controllers. Because several smaller airports were just going to have no controllers whatsoever.
Yeah, they were talking about DEA, the Dallas Executive Airport, which is just about the stupidest damn name I've ever heard. But that's just me. What happened to Redbird Airport? They said, oh, that's racist. That kind of does. Okay, so we'll name it DEA. There, that's a great idea. Yeah. That'll make you want to land there, won't it? But yeah, the smaller airports are very important. We're talking about Abilene, Kansas. Places like that. They do have an airport. It's small, but they have one, and they need an air traffic controller.
Well, even Arlington Municipal. I mean, that's a
busy airport.
That's a busy airport. Jerry Jones, who I think many people know, does all of his business out of Arlington Municipal. Well, and they were going to lose their control.
There you go. There's the answer right there. Uncle Jerry made a phone call. Boom, passed. Because that is Jerry's world.
It's a few miles from Jerry's world.
Yes, but Arlington has become Jerry's world.
I'm an Arlington resident, so I'm well aware.
You're well aware of that.
Yeah.
Keep those taxes coming. Yeah. And well, I'm glad that I had another aspect to talk about that debacle. It's whose dumbass idea was this?
The furlough?
Yeah.
Congress members that aren't even there anymore.
Oh, well, there you go. Boy, that was smart, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's why they call it a lame duck Congress, because they pass all kind of stupid shit right before they leave. Stuff. Okay, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy how Congress works.
Yeah. It's not...
Or doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
At all.
Some federal employees that I talked to said that, in their opinion, every member of Congress should just back down and that they should just start all over from scratch.
Hey, now there's a great idea. Yeah, how do we do that? Oh, 2014's coming up. We can do a few of them.
We can do a few of them.
We can do a few of them, and then we can get the rest of them in 2016. It could be good.
But the problem is you always have this cycle of these ones that are leaving want to get these things done right before they leave.
And then it takes you longer to undo it than it did for them to do it. That's the, it's a pain. It's kind of, Gene said it earlier, it's a painful democratic process sometimes.
It is.
And the AFL-CIO, even in our organization, in CWA, you look at it and there's a hierarchy that they keep passing things down. And maybe it's time for one of those big, uproars. And, I've been saying for the last couple of years, this revolution will be televised.
Yeah. Well, and even on the federal, most of those controllers are unionized. They have a union. But it's, what can you do? Because if we go on strike, look what happened the last time we went on strike.
And Reagan, that was kind of, in my opinion, the beginning of the crushing of unions.
Right.
That was Reagan laid off or just dismissed. He fired them all.
He just fired them all.
All the air traffic controllers. Hey, you're fired. You're on strike. You're fired. Came back in, brought in a bunch of people. And it's never been the same since.
Yeah. So, these poor guys are being overworked.
Oh.
They're not getting their overtime like they used to.
Do they have good benefits?
They have pretty good benefits.
They probably need them. They're probably all on, anti-stress.
By the time they're 60, they're pretty much done.
Worn out.
En route and tower controllers are a little different, but you pretty much have to retire from controlling by your 60th birthday. It's pretty much federally mandated.
Okay.
But I would imagine most of them by then, if they haven't moved into some kind of management position, are ready.
Yeah, I would think. And I think we should have those folks like them that really need to retire when they're 60. They should have a Social Security package and a Medicare package for that type of industry to take advantage of when they retire early.
Right.
And now they're talking about, we're going to raise the retirement age to 70. Oh my gosh. Come on, man. When are you supposed to have a life? We're going to raise the retirement age to 70.
To 70 in a 10-hour workday?
Oh, I can't wait. Does that mean I only have to work 4 hours, 4 days? If I work 10 hours a day?
You have to work 6 days.
Oh. See,
that's what they'll get to.
Yeah, see, and and I love Gene's analogy. 30 hours, 4 days a week. That'd be great. Everybody would go back to work. I think it's a great idea. I was going to go see a movie today, Oz the Great and Powerful, but I got asked to stay and do another hour, and I don't mind at all. 972-647-1893. It's really interesting to look outside. Pardon me, be outside of DFW looking in, and you hear people from outside our area talk about Dallas, and it's really interesting. They really think that we are like the Mecca for jobs.
Well, everyone wants to come here.
Why?
Because
they've never lived here before.
I personally think it's a wonderful place to live.
I love it. I do. I love Dallas. I do. Now, there's parts of the rest of the state that, I love.
We could get rid of Austin. I'd be just fine.
Hey! I like Austin. You don't like Austin?
I'm an Oklahoma person, so.
Oh, I see. I see.
More of a rivalry
and
thing.
You know what they say about Oklahoma? We're not going there. We're
Keeps
not
Texas
go
from
there.
falling into the ocean?
Yeah, something like that. Well, May 1st, we talked about May 1st being International Workers' Day. So that's really important that people understand the holiday. And I love the poster. Learn about the holiday Big Brother doesn't want you to know about. This is a discussion about modern day labor organizing and the relationship between human rights and worker rights. That is so important. Dr. Rieger who's a professor of theology, is going to be there. And our own Gene Lantz, who is a workers' rights leader. He's the president of Jobs with Justice here in Dallas. That's going to be Wednesday, May 1st, 6:30 to 8:30 at SMU Hughes Trigg Student Center, Atrium CD. And that is 3104 Dyer.
Something like that.
Yeah. Just put Hughes Trigg Student Center, and you'll find it.
Or drive on the campus and start asking students.
Drive on the campus, roll down the window. You'll see students everywhere. They'll tell you where the student center is. I'm sure they know. And this is sponsored by Workers Defense Project. Workers Defense Project has really come into Dallas and been really strong. They've been on this show, on Gene's show, on Worker Speed a couple of times. And I've seen these guys. I run into them everywhere. It's great. Jobs with Justice, the Embry Human Rights Program at SMU, which is a nice offset to the Bush Library. Human Rights, Bush Library. Kind of hard to put those in the same sentence. Had some good protests out there Thursday. Had a couple hundred people at one time. Protesting the Bush Library. It's funny, when we first found that the Bush Library was going to be built on the SMU campus, a lot of the folks, civil rights activists, human rights activists said, yay, we're going to have a new place to protest!
I actually heard a story this week, because I do the news during the week, during the morning music shows, that a group actually bought a building directly across the street so that they would have access to do their protest the morning of.
Really?
Yeah, and they were going to be all in black, and they were going to start at 8:30 in the morning and just come streaming out of this building, because that was the only way you could get close.
Right. Yeah, I think they were on the opposite side of the freeway of Highway 75. I don't know about the buying the building thing, but I do know that the folks were out there with black and the white masks, and they had names of people who had died in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. And that included both civilian casualties from Iraq and Afghanistan, as well as the military casualties. And we have thousands upon thousands of people who their lives have been completely changed by those wars. You know, the wars before, Vietnam, Korea, we didn't have the technology that we have now. The battlefield medicine that they have now, we didn't have that before. So a lot more people that would have died in the previous occupations, and I do call it an occupation, would be dead. But now instead they have PTSD, horrible injuries. Man, war is hell, as they say. And we'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, AM Law Group presents a blues legend in a historic venue. This is Greg Smith here to tell you about Bobby Rush at the Sons of Herman Hall on Saturday, April the 27th. That's right, I'll be hosting a legend live and up close in this intimate venue. Get your tickets now and don't miss out and see a complete Bobby Rush show. Joining Bobby Rush will be Little Jimmy and his feedback band. Fort Worth party people will have a free Bobby Rush party bus leaving from the Silver Eagle bus station. More information is at knon.org. And if the Grammy-nominated Bobby Rush wasn't enough, we'll have a free dinner from Daddy Jack's Fort Worth and South Lake locations. Get your tickets now at knon.org. Bill's Records, Forever Young Records, and Comp Cleaners in Fort Worth. This is a KNON Blues benefit. Bobby Rush and Little Jimmy and his Feedback Band. April the 27th at the Sons of Herman Hall, 3414 Am Street in Dallas. Presented by AM Law Group and sponsored in part by Top Dollar Tax Service, Silver Eagle Bus Charter, and Daddy Jack's.
If it's time to get rid of your old gas guzzler, the KNON Vehicle Donation Program can help. There is still a market for those old vehicles, and if you donate it, you are helping to support the quality programming here on KNON. Just call 877-KNON-AUTO or go online to knon.org. We'll take care of everything from pickup to tax paperwork. That's 877-KNON-AUTO.
Hey, babes, take one.
Are we back?
We're back.
Okay, we're back. And I have
David Taffet
from
Lambda Weekly.
Lambda
next show.
Weekly, and he objects to some of the...
I absolutely, completely. You were talking about my good buddy Ted Cruz. Okay, so
I'm
here's
sorry.
why I really like him.
Okay.
I really like him. Let's say we had elected Dewhurst.
Oh God, no! I was thinking more along the lines of Paul Sadler, but
but that wasn't going to happen, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's say we had Dewhurst.
Mhm.
He sounds intelligent. He's going to have an argument that people are going to listen to, right?
Right.
Okay, so there are only two ways you can vote: yes or no. Okay, so he's going to vote no, and Cruz is going to vote no. But Cruz is so bat poop lane loony that nobody can take him seriously. It's great we have him.
You're right. And now Cornyn is like running behind him, going,
Yeah. Can I be like him? Can I be?
I mean, if we did like him.
Right. So
You're
it's
right.
great that we have Cruz instead of
Dewhurst. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. We'll get him next time.
Yeah. Now, I have the thing that they should have done for the air traffic controllers.
Okay.
Shut down National Airport. I don't mean just, delays of an hour. I mean delays of 6 hours. Keep those the bitches sitting on the tarmac for hours and hours. They all use National because each member of
that's
Congress
right.
has his own personal parking space
That's
there.
right.
Right?
Yeah.
A whole parking lot just for them right in front.
That's true.
You delay them
Would have
and
been
delay them and delay them.
5 minutes.
And you have the head of the FAA saying to them, "Nope, sorry. That's how these air traffic control delays are going to be resolved. We can delay one part of the country, or we can delay the whole country. Better to just
as
just long as
make
you
it
have Congress tied up."
That's right. Then, hey, can we do... No, never mind.
Well, and I think a big question was, are the controllers making these delays worse on purpose so that they
Probably.
can get their stuff back?
I hope so.
And
I
one
hope
of the
so.
high-ranking
I would too.
controller officials I said, no, we are absolutely trying to do everything we can to make sure
I'd
that
say
these
that
delays
too.
aren't happening, and you were still getting 6-hour delays.
Yeah.
I'd say that too.
I like that, right? It's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We have Marjorie on line one. Good morning, Marjorie.
Hi, I was I was one of the protesters protesting the Bush Library this week.
Good.
And it was a week-long protest. I was wearing one of those white masks, and I had the name of a person who was a detainee at Guantanamo who was actually killed there. And there's no way, since he was in custody, there's no way that was an accident. That was a cold-blooded murder. But anyway, no, we didn't buy any building. I don't know where you heard that, but SMU had bought that building at some point while I was living in another state. But we did have a judge rule in our favor that we had the First Amendment right to protest at that site, even though there's a city ordinance prohibiting protest within 75 feet of a freeway or an interstate or anything like that. And so a judge ruled that was unconstitutional, and we had the right to protest there.
Outstanding.
Well, if you're going to put a presidential library within 75 feet of a highway,
I got
then
the
you
right
have
to
to
protest.
Protest it.
That's
And
right.
generally, I think it's a good ordinance. There are lots of
Absolutely,
places
yeah.
to protest, but in this specific case, of course, you have the right to protest.
Absolutely.
Right there.
Yeah, I have to
Yeah, that-
agree. Yeah, good
that's
job,
how-
Marjorie.
Yeah, that's how the judge had ruled, and there was a whole week long of events. Wednesday night was a free screening of Phil Donahue's film Body of War about a veteran, an Iraq veteran who's paralyzed, and the devastating footnote to that film is that he has now made a decision to end his life because of all the poor treatment that he had received, and his condition has deteriorated to the point where the pain is unbearable, and he's made the decision to end all treatment, including tube feedings, and to end his life. And Donahue was there. He took questions, and he Skyped in the veteran whose name is Thomas. I'm slipping the last name, but he was Skyped in after the film, and people were able to ask questions directly. And in my opinion, it's because the level of care he received was so slipshod, not exactly slipshod, but just very truncated and perfunctory. There's one scene in the film where a Vietnam vet with a similar injury, who had received much better and more thorough care, was managing. Of course, it's a devastating disability, but he was at least stable and managing and being able to live with some dignity, whereas the Iraq vet had just absolutely deteriorated. And in the Skype connection, it really showed that his speech was slurred from an embolism, and he looked much, much worse than he did in the film, and that Donahue pledged to be with him right till the end. Yeah. Hopefully, this will become a sequel. So the film didn't make any money, but it won some awards. It was nominated for an Oscar and for some other awards. Thursday night, there was also a lecture by Colin Powell's chief of staff, who kind of spilled the beans on the current schemes to go into Syria and into Iran for pretty much the same fraudulent reasons. There were some other teach-ins. There was one about torture Wednesday morning.
Wow.
There was one about veterans, Iraqis, and their testimonials Tuesday night, which was at a First Unitarian. There was a teach-in Thursday afternoon, which was called the People's Library, and it was several authors of books which documented the administration's or maladministration's crimes against humanity. And I and others had the idea of establishing a People's Truth Library, either online, physical, or I would prefer both. So overall, it was a good event. The downside was that there were 3 arrests at the protest. 2 people were arrested who were wearing prison stripes and papier-mâché bobbleheads of Bush and Cheney, and a 3rd person was arrested for photographing that, and they were held 12 hours, but luckily the charges, my understanding was the charges were dropped on a constitutional grounds. I could be slightly wrong.
I think the constitutional grounds are they weren't doing anything.
Yeah, they were. I think that a couple of them refused to get back up onto the sidewalk or something, and they were arrested. It happens. Any protest of any size, they're going to have an arrest because there's going to be a police officer there who has got to make a name for themselves.
Of course, I've been to many protests where there were no arrests.
I know, me too, Marjorie.
More place of residence, and there were no arrests at the late March protest from the main post office. Nobody was arrested there. That's just a local example. But I did anywhere there weren't any arrests at all.
Ma'am. Sure. Yes, ma'am. Me too. But there's always going to be one.
Yeah, and I was relieved there were no counter protesters who potentially could have caused problems.
Right.
And there was a second parallel protest Thursday morning by an immigration reform group.
Oh,
and
good.
we're certainly sympathetic to their cause. They appeared to number around 50.
Good.
And while we were silent and in black, they were vocal and colorfully dressed.
Good.
So the
Good contrast.
tactics were, yeah, it was very nice contrast in tactics that made it more colorful morning. And the best part, I think, was when the people were dismissed from the dedication ceremony as they were coming out. We and the immigration reformists were on a street corner with our signage and our slogans, and they had to file past us. And, of course, there were a ton of police, but some of the police were pretty courteous towards us. They talked to us, and so my understanding was that the police main interest in general was to keep the sitting president safe.
Right.
And they were not really thinking, because most of us in our group are absolute pacifists.
Yes, ma'am.
But not everyone, but I would say a majority. And so they're certainly not going to take the route of the Weather Underground.
Right.
But I just wanted to give you kind of a rundown.
Thank you, Marjorie. Thank you so much for calling. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah, it's good to hear from you as well. And my phone's about to go dead here,
Okay.
so I'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, Marjorie.
Okay, sure.
So are you going to the Bush Library?
That would probably be a big fat no.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. There's the exhibit that I want to see.
Yeah.
And I'm not making this up because you can't make these things up. One of the main exhibits is, it's called Decisions something, and it shows how the president made certain decisions.
Oh, God. Really?
So it asks
Does it
you,
have a
what would
dartboard?
you do? And if you say, would you invade Iraq or not? And if you press no, it says, here's why you are wrong.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Now,
You're right. You can't make
wait,
this stuff up.
I can't wait to see this. I
Now,
can't wait to see this.
David, I
here's
heard
why
it was
you're
called
wrong.
the Situation Room.
This is it? Yeah.
And what you do is you stand in there, and they have videos pop up of the guys that actually were advising President Bush.
Oh, which is scary in and of itself.
And they pop up real fast. Boom, 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 boom. And then it goes, based on this information, would you or would you not invade Iraq? And then depending on what decision you give, it gives you both sides of the answer completely.
But, well, apparently, and I saw a screen capture of this, it says, here's why you were wrong, though.
Right. But even when you say yes, it would say,
here's why you're right?
No, I think it would say, I think it gives you both. Here's why you're wrong on your no. Here's why you're right on your no. Here's why you're right on your yes. Here's why you're wrong on your yes.
I love that. I can't wait to see this place.
Interactive displays. That's pretty cool.
Now, I've actually met some people who are working there and
okay.
As archivists. And this one woman I spoke to, her friends have said, you're working where?
That's what my friends would say. What?
What? You're working for who?
Are you nuts?
You passed a background check?
That would be the second question. How did that happen?
But she's fascinated. Millions of emails sitting there between these pieces of
work.
Thank you. You're keeping Clint from pushing
right?
that button.
I know.
But all these emails to go through.
That's
now,
true. I mean, that has to be fascinating. You know.
It's the reason that, do I like that the Bush Library is there? Well, kind of, because all this stuff is put into this repository as opposed to a trash dump where they wanted it to go.
Yeah, that's true.
And
that's
eventually, the truth will come out.
God, I hope so. Surely it will. As my friend says, don't call me Shirley. It's just, I really hope that the truth does come out. I think the truth has come out, but people have not listened. So, and I think every day more and more that people are starting to wake up. I do believe that. I swear.
Yeah, but I know that even though it was a tough decision for you whether or not to vote for him, even those of us who were pretty well decided ahead of, I think there's stuff in there that even we couldn't imagine.
Yeah,
I think it's
you're right.
that bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And just
and
like
I can't wait till it starts coming out.
Just like the Nixon stuff, it has taken decades for a lot of it to come out.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to take that long to sift through a lot of this stuff.
Well, at least because now you have social media and email, whereas, with Nixon, we didn't have that. We just had the tapes in the White House.
Right.
But this, you're right. It's going to take decades for this all to come out and be pieced together.
And pieced together as to who was talking to whom on what. What subject they were talking about.
Who really messed it up.
Yeah. So, but I love that all that stuff is here.
That's good.
In an odd way.
In an odd way, yeah.
It's. I don't like the whole Policy Institute thing.
Oh, God. That's been open since 2009.
Doing damage since 2009.
Yes.
But, the other presidential libraries are really much less political that way.
Right. Yeah, they're more of a legacy kind of thing.
Well, or like the Carter Institute that is dedicated to building houses and doing things.
And helping poor people.
Did you see Jimmy Carter this week?
I see.
He
He's so
great.
frail, though.
A friend of mine was on a house building thing with him in Haiti about a year and a half ago.
Oh, wow.
He said Carter's house looked a whole lot better than his did. He said he and Rosalind were out there swinging hammers and working like they knew what they were doing.
And he's like 90, right?
Somewhere around there.
Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah.
He's supposed to look frail. I do want to mention one more time, May 1st, International Workers' Day. Learn about the holiday Big Brother doesn't want you to know about. This is going to be at SMU on Wednesday from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the SMU Hughes Trigg Student Center. Get on the campus, stop a student, ask them where the student center is. They'll point you in the right direction, I promise. This should be interesting. Our own Gene Lantz is one of the two speakers. Dr. York Rieger is the other speaker. These guys are awesome, and you really do need to listen to this. Don't forget, tomorrow is Workers' Memorial Day. Okay, let's take a minute tomorrow just to remember that Texas is the number one in the country for construction deaths and injuries on the job. OSHA is working hard to make this change. Let's please remember the first responders in West and all of the folks there who've been injured or lost everything in this tragedy. And let's remember that deregulation is not the answer for everything. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.